Hey guys, Darkster here with another video. This one is going to be on Albion Online. Now, I touched a little bit on Albion Online when it came to the podcast, which I uploaded earlier today. I'm going to be reiterating a little bit about what I talked about on the podcast. If you guys are interested in listening to the podcast, you can find it in the description, or you can just go to soundcloud.com/DarksterMedia. It's the DarksterMedia podcast. You can find, the whole episode there. It's episode 4 that I talked about Albion Online on. It should be in the title. Regardless, I'm going to be reiterating some of the stuff I talked about on there. I'm going to start off with the bad and then get to the good. I feel like I mostly talked about the bad on the podcast, but here we're going to probably cover a little bit more of a variety of the topics, I guess, or of my thoughts on the game. Now, I got the game just a little bit before, actually, I think like the day before Black Desert's not pre-release, Head Start started. So when I got it, I forgot about Black Desert. I don't know what it was. I wasn't on Twitter or something happened. I forgot about Black Desert's Head Start, but I went ahead and just bought access to Albion Online. Now, speaking of buying access to Albion Online, the only way to play Albion Online is to buy access. It is supposed to be a free-to-play game when it releases, but right now the only way you can get in is with the $30, the $50, or the $100 Founders Packs. Now, in general, I haven't really talked about Founders Packs on this channel, which I plan to do eventually, but I absolutely hate and despise Founders Packs. I think they're the worst kind of capitalism designed for... It's basically us paying to test the game for the company, you know what I mean? It's like we're paying them for free, like, work, you know what I mean? It's like the most backwards way of doing anything, you know what I mean? It's like the babysitter paying you to babysit your kids, right? It's kind of ridiculous. But we let it go because A, we really want to play the game, and B, they give us like frames and shit. It's like, here's a pretty mount and here's a hat. You're welcome. And then we like just gobble it up like, oh my god, this is the best. You know what I mean? It's like, but it's a total, end of the day, it's a total fucking scam. Regardless, I'm not gonna get into too much details about the Founders Packs, but one thing I find that Albion Online has been doing that's kind of annoying with the Founders Packs is they've just kind of been keeping the game in, I don't want to say development hell, because development hell means that there's problems internally, but they've just kind of kept the game in kind of like this Minecraft beta, where it's like the game's basically out, it's basically ready to be out and everything, but they just kind of keep adding stuff on. Making the game better, sure, but keeping it in beta just because they're making money off the sales of the game. They're basically selling these Founders Packs, which is giving them a surplus of money, which they can keep charging for, and inevitably one day they can just release. But right now, why release it when you can just charge for it and keep it in this beta? People will continue testing it, and everyone will actually overall be nicer about it because it's beta. That's the thing about beta. It's like you have all these apologists, even though the game might have flaws and pros and cons, sure, in both directions. But if it does have crucial flaws, everyone's like, "Yo, bro, it's beta. What'd you expect?" Even though the game's basically, I mean, in Albion Online's case, it's kind of done. Let's be honest. Like even after, especially after the Plutus or Plotus, whatever that the last update they did, I believe it was January 27th. Especially after that, I would say that's basically like a release update. But for whatever reason, they're keeping it in closed beta or buy to play beta is what probably a good way to call it, buy to play beta. And I don't know. I just don't like that. I don't agree with it. I feel the game is complete and ready to be launched. Stuff that they could be adding, I don't think they plan to be adding, and stuff that I personally think they should add or should plan on adding is actually more lore-based information in the game. Now, I know the game has a foundation and a world and everything, but it feels extremely bland when you play it. Every time I play the game, or when you make a character, it almost feels like the world was created the moment you made that character. There isn't any sense of history or foundation in the overall world when I play, and the big excuse I see from all the players is, it's a sandbox game, you're not supposed to blah blah blah. It's basically because it's a sandbox, you create your own story so they don't have to have one internally, which is kind of absolutely ridiculous because what ends up happening is, again, you feel like the moment you load into the game, the world just appeared, and then everything just, it's like, why do I have to kill these bandits? Why gather materials right now? What am I gonna gain from doing this? Why are there dungeons? What's up with all these dungeons with these monsters and shit in them? Why do I have to go? It's like there's no reasoning behind any of it, and I think there needs to be some internal information in the game. And it's like, sure, if you want to have just the kind of the completely blank sandbox experience, that's perfectly fine. I'm not saying they have to add a story in, you know what I mean? It's like a story would be cool, but it's not something I think they should mandatory add in. Black Desert is a good example of this, where there's clearly some kind of path you can kind of take, where there's a story and there's some stuff you have to do, but you can completely just go, nah, I'm just gonna go and explore and kill stuff, and you can go down that route entirely, and you have both options. And I think Albion Online should have some kind of option like that as well. If anything, even just a lore tab would be very cool. Just something at the bottom or the top, under your nameplate or whatever. That's just a tab that you can click. And when you encounter certain individuals, you encounter someone important, when you run into the factions for the first time, when you first harvest something, or kill an animal or fight a bandit, you run into these bandits and they're all like, "Oh, we're gonna take Albion back," and all, you know what I mean? It's like, why? What happened? Explain to me why. It's like, I want to know why we're fighting these guys. Why are these guys talking about taking Albion back? Did we take it from them first, and they want it back? Are we the assholes? Like, that's information I think is important, is interesting. But no, it's just these guys yell it, we kill them, I go mine some stuff, and I go back. So it's like some foundation, some history is necessary, I feel, for the game to really kind of feel alive. The game would feel so much more alive, because the world is interesting as is. I like the universe, I like the world, but the history, the lack of lore built into the game is extremely lacking, and that would be the one thing I would say they should add before they release. Now, again, that's a very simple addition, just being like, if you run into something that's of note, you can add it into this lore book. It's a very simple addition. Aside from that, I honestly do feel the game is ready to be released, but they're holding it until August. Overall, when we're talking about the game itself, I do think it's very good. This game actually had that moment where I lost time into the nether somehow. What ended up happening was I got the game and I played it casually for about 2 days, just kind of on and off it, just kind of had it on the side here, and just kind of did some stuff, closed it, forgot about it, then the next day I would jump on again. And generally for my reviews and first impressions and stuff, for a review, I usually wait till a game is out. For first impressions, I generally wait until I have about 4 hours in the game. Depending on the game, of course, some games it might be as little as an hour. When it comes to MMOs, for instance, it would be about 4 hours of time put into the game before I go, all right, it's time for my first impressions video. And generally for review points, it's either 10 hours, a little bit more for MMOs, when it comes to reviews, and I usually wait until they're released. Regardless of that, that's generally, regardless of all that, Albion Online, I messed around, and on the third day or so, after messing around on Black Desert a bit too, I jumped on Albion Online, and I noticed the timer that they have before you logged in. I didn't notice it before, but they have a timer about how much time you played. That character, or maybe the entire game, I'm not sure. I believe it's that character to the right of loading into the world. And it had 8 hours and 11 minutes on there, and it blew my mind. I couldn't believe that I put 8 hours into this game without realizing it. And by the way, I'm not one of those guys that just log out, just leave the game open and log out. I have friends on WoW that are like, yo, I have like 2,000 hours of playtime. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't have 2,000 fucking hours of playtime, because every time I message you on WoW, you're AFK jerking off to like Doritos or some shit. It's like you're not actually playing. You don't actually have 2,000 hours of active playtime. You maybe have 100 hours at best of active playtime. It's like, you have that kind of situation. I'm not that guy. Whenever I'm playing, I'm on. If I'm on, I'm playing. If I'm not playing, if I have to go do something else, I turn the game off. I do not leave it on just neutral like that. I make sure I turn the entire thing, because it's just a waste of my time. I don't like having it up. It's messing up my other stuff on the screen. It's like, I just don't want to have it up. So I close it every single time. So the 8 hours and 11 minutes is active game time on Albion Online, and I remember seeing it and just trying to recall, like, what were these 8 hours? How did I spend 8 hours on this game? Where honestly, at that point, I thought 4 hours tops. I probably spent 4 hours tops on this game. I ended up spending 8 hours and 11 minutes without even realizing it, just casually playing, or what I think was casually playing across maybe a day and a half. 8 hours. I don't know. I was kind of amazed by that. Like, how the game engrossed me enough, and all I was doing was just walking around killing some bandits, gathering some junk. I barely progressed. That's the thing. It's like I barely got anywhere. Like I'm still pretty much in starter, just slightly above starter stuff. I got like some plate armor, but it's like it's nothing. You know what I mean? I'm still in the main starting. Like if I walk out of the starting zone and go back like one field back, like one area back, I'd be back in the starting zone, like where I zone into the game, the spawn point for the start of the game. That's how like 8 hours passed, pretty much doing nothing, mundane work, but I didn't notice it at all. And it's like honestly, I would go as far as saying this is one of the best time waster games. It's one of the best games to just kind of have on an extra screen. It's like I have 3 screens. This is one of those games I would just comfortably leave on one screen. I'll do some stuff. I'll watch Netflix or something. I'll edit a video, and then in between all that, I might just go on quickly and just mine some nodes, cut a few trees down, kill a few bandits or something. Just casually leave it on one screen, and it'll just be there as it fills in that spot so well as that game you keep open just to mess around on here and there. Also seems to have a huge hardcore element. I haven't gotten into it, but the thing that I like about this is if you're one of those hardcore players that wants to go and gank people and steal their loot and then sell it on the auction house and all that, you can totally be that guy. You can join the guilds and join have all these huge guild war type situations and fight in the black zones and the red zones. Sure, but you can also just be the guy that's like, I'm just going to keep this open on the side and I'm just going to mine some stuff, throw it on the auction house, or maybe make some armor, throw that on the auction house, maybe sell it to some players. You can totally be that dude too. It's like, and you can also just be the PvEer. You can be like, I'm just going to try and get geared up, and I'm going to go and run these dungeons, see if I can solo them. I like the ways that you can play the game. I like the directions that you can go in with it. It's not just this is the one way you do it. You might notice that they're kind of pushing the whole aggressive PvP standpoint, but that is not the only way you have to play. You can totally be just the miner. You can totally be just the lumberjack dude. You can totally just be the PvE soloer, group player, whatever. It's like there's so many ways to play the game. I also like that it's on multi-platform. I've seen forum posts and stuff of people talking about how they wish it was just PC or PC and Mac only, basically. I don't agree with that. I think if they did go in that direction, it would have been still a good game regardless. But if they had originally started in that direction, it would have been a very different game. I feel like they had to cut corners for getting it on iOS and Android for sure. Graphics are a little bit lower, customization is a little bit lower. Maybe the movement might be smoother if it were just on PC. I don't feel that would change much, to be honest. But regardless, there are certain things that you can tell that they cut corners with. But the thing is, I think when it comes to the actual user base and player base, when they actually eventually get on Android and iOS, when people start playing it, people get access to it, we're going to see a lot of players, because Android and iOS have a huge amount of just internal players. They might not make it too far. It's like the mobile players. This game is kind of hardcore for the mobile players. A lot of them will probably get bored, but there are going to be a lot of people that start playing it, and it might be the trigger for them to go and be like, oh, this is on PC, I'll get it on PC, or this is on Mac, I'll get it on Mac, and put more and more time into it. Even from the standpoint of myself and people that are already in the game, that are interested in the PC version of the game or the Mac version of the game, and they want to do more hardcore things. They're doing a more progressed things, like they're in higher zones and such, higher levels, better gear. Even these guys in that situation where it's like, oh, I can just throw this on my MacBook and play it at school, or I can just start carrying my tablet around and play it on there, before bed, when I wake up, when I'm in class. It's this extra layer of opportunity to play the game. For us, for the people that are already in the game, that are interested in it. And it's also a way for people that aren't interested in the game, that don't know about the game, they can find it through iOS, because there's always people, like, I remember doing this when I first got my iPad, and when I get my iPhone, I just look for stuff to play. I'm just looking for, like, what's the next game on the iTunes store, or the app, on the App Store and everything. And it's like, if Albion's on there, I'd be like, oh, this looks kind of interesting. It's like you go and mine stuff. All right, cool. And then that might be the trigger for some people. It's gonna turn a bunch of people off too. Some people are gonna be like, this game takes too long to do stuff. I just want to win, and they'll leave. They'll stop playing. They'll delete the game. But there's gonna be those people. Especially when you have such a large player base that's gonna jump on with mobile. With the whole tablet market, there's a huge player base, and even if you only get like 5% of 100% of that player base, that's enough to like blow up the game. That's a huge portion. I would even go as far as saying 5% of the mobile gaming player base, or even 5% of just the tablet gaming player base, is might be larger than the current player base that is playing the game. It's like, imagine doubling the current player base with just having it on Android and iOS. It's like, that's a big deal. So I think a lot of people are kind of missing that point. I think having a larger player base, having more people to interact with, more people to fight, more people to sell stuff to and work with, is going to be a good thing rather than a bad thing, even though they had to cut corners here and there. Overall, I do like the game. If I had to say, like, here's the thing: I want to recommend it. I want to say, sure, go ahead, it's worth playing. But I don't want to say it's okay to spend $30 right now, because they are doing this kind of extended beta thing, which kind of annoys me. It's like, I don't want to support them too much, or I don't want to push support for them right now because of that. And also, even if, regardless of that, if you want to play the game, the thing is, they're most likely, almost 99% sure, that they're going to be doing resets to all your characters. So any effort and time you're going to be putting in right now, in August, they will probably be resetting all your characters. The main argument to that is, you're going to have an advantage if you've been playing for this long, and then the new players will need to get a reset. My argument is, what about a year from now when someone jumps into the game? Do we have to get a reset then too for that one guy? Like, no, it's a stupid argument when you really think about it, because resets don't really do anything. If that's the case, the game has to go through a reset every like 4 months, because every new player is going to have a disadvantage. Yeah, everyone's going to have a disadvantage if they're new to the game. You know what I mean? If you've been playing for a day and someone jumps in, a day later, that guy has a disadvantage to the person who's been playing all day the day before. It's just naturally going to be like that. We're going to have naturally a disadvantage to the guys who come on for the first time when the game releases, and they'll have advantages to the people who come on a year later. It's kind of a dumb argument when you kind of think about it. But I do kind of understand it too, because beta is a little different. And regardless, even if that wasn't the case, the thing is, day one, even with restarts, we all know how to, like, the first bunch of steps. It's like, we know how to get started with the ore. We know the quick steps of getting the wood real quick, getting it into blocks, getting it into armor, and then jumping on with the armor and go. It's like, well, we're gonna be ahead of the newer guys regardless. But even in ignoring that, it's just like, it's just kind of a dumb argument when you kind of think about it and put it in perspective. But it is probably going to happen. We are probably going to get resets. So it's hard for me to recommend the game where it's like, yeah, anything you do right now and anything you enjoy about the game right now, you're probably going to do reset. Everything's going to be reset at some point. Again, though, I don't know. That's kind of what the game is. The game is this whole aspect. Like, what you're going to be doing now is probably what you're going to be doing when the game comes out anyways. You're just going to be doing it at different places. So maybe if you're okay with the reset, it's worth trying. I can't give my final opinions or thoughts on should you get it or should you not get it right now. I just feel like the foundation isn't all there, and I don't like the reset. I don't like the Founders Pack setup that they have, and I don't like the reset, so I personally wouldn't recommend it right now. But for sure, when it's actually out or getting close to coming out, I highly recommend everyone give it a try. Jump in with the $30 model and give it a try. I will be updating the game, or updating this video, I guess, as time goes on. I'll probably talk about it more consistently on the podcast, so I recommend you guys check out the podcast if you guys are interested in that. Aside from that, you can find all my links and stuff in the description, Twitter, Medium, etc. Yeah, and that's about it. Darkster out. Peace.